Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for lending me your ears. Today, I want to talk about sales anxiety. I was reflecting on this thing. Sales anxiety. You ever have that feeling at the end of the month or maybe the end of the quarter or definitely at the end of the year where you're like, I'm not going to hit my number. I'm just not going to make it. The majority of people don't hit their number. I think the number's up to 57% of people don't hit their number. That's a big number, right? And so there's that anxiety, that sales anxiety. So I started giving some thought to sales anxiety. Yeah, it's a new category. And I said, what causes sales anxiety? And I came up with three things. One is urgency. Two is no plan. And three is time belief. I'll explain the last one. The last one's really interesting. Urgency, no plan, or time belief. So the first one is we feel anxious when sometimes we know we need to change, or sometimes we're not even aware that something needs to change. Knowing what you need to change, you've got the problem halfway solved because you know what you need to change. But sometimes it's like we don't know why. Something's not right. Why am I not closing deals? Why is the customer not calling me back? And you know that there's something that you need to change. And now you become aware of it. But even if you become aware of that change, that urgency to change, then we have to move to the second part of the anxiety. I know I have to change. I got to make some changes. I got to do something, but then I don't have a plan. In other words, I don't know how. That could be one reason. I just don't know how to change. I don't know how to learn how to do this. Or maybe I just simply don't know where to start. So, or you say, okay, I'm going to start, but you keep procrastinating and you don't start. And so these are things that hinder us. So think about it. If you've reached that sense of urgency where you said, I need to make changes if I want to close more deals, if I want to be better at selling, increase my sales performance, then I need to make changes. But then knowing that you need to make the changes, second part is having a plan. And sometimes we simply don't know where to start. We don't know how to do it, and we're afraid to reach out, or worse, we procrastinate and says, you know what, I'm going to start doing this next week. Well, guess what? Next week rolls around and you don't do it. So let's move to the third component. Let's say that you figured out the urgency piece. I need to do this. Now I have a plan. I know what I need to do. Again, you can feel your anxiety go down. I know I need to change. I know what I need to do. Here's my plan. But then we talk ourselves out of it, and this is time belief. Time belief is interesting. I put it in 4 categories. Sometimes when we don't do something, it's because we go, you know what? I'm out of time. It's too late to do it. Out of time, that's the first category. Out of time, can't do it. We're done. No point in doing it. Second is you don't have time. By the way, let me go back to out of time. The best example of that I can give people is that I have friends who didn't go to college, for example. And I always, they complain about not going back to college. And I said, well, you can go back to college anytime you want. Nope, it's too late. Victor, it's too late. I'm like, what do you mean it's too late? He goes, it's too late. I said, well, it's never too late. But in their mind, they're convinced it's too late. Again, we talk ourselves out of things that way. Again, if it's not out of time, too late, then they don't have the time. Well, I'm too busy. I have too many priorities. I'm too busy. I don't have time. I got all these things to do, let alone learn how to do something new. So I don't have time. I'm too busy. In other words, it's not a priority. That's, again, how we brainwash ourselves into not taking action. Or how about this one? I just, again, it's not urgent. I don't feel like I need to make time for that. So I won't make time. So there's out of time, don't have time, and then there's won't make time. And this is always interesting, the don't want to make time. To me, when you don't want to make time for something, it's because simply you don't see the value in making the change. Now, you can do it, but you won't do it. In other words, it's a want, but it's not a real need. And unless it's become urgent enough, you won't simply do it. Last one is too much time. Well, it takes too much time to do that, so I won't do it. And too much time is a big procrastinator, right? It's going to take too much time. And then you push it off. Or it's going to take too much time. Maybe I'll push it off for 6 more months, and in 6 months, I'll start it. So my reason for doing this podcast is I wanted to highlight something that most of us never talk about, and that's time. And too often we talk ourselves out of doing something, using one of these 4 excuses of time. I'm out of time. It's too late. There's no point in doing it. It's just, it's done, Victor. It's over. That's one thing we tell ourselves to not do something we need to do. Or we don't have the time. Too many priorities, Victor. Just got too many things. I just don't have the time. But you and I know you can always make time if it was really that urgent. Or there's a simply won't make time. Yeah, you know what? I just don't want to make time for that. It's not that important to me. I know it's something I need to do, but it's not that important to me. And then the last one is too much time. It takes too much time to do that. I'm not going to do it. It just takes too much time, and we talk ourselves out of it. Let me ask you a question. Which one of these 4 excuses do you use when not taking action? When you're feeling some sales anxiety and you know you need to take action, you have a plan in place, what do? Do you say, oh, I'm out of time, it's too late, I don't have the time, that's going to take too much time? And the reason I want to highlight this for you is to create this awareness. So when you're thinking about doing something or not doing something, are you using time, your belief of time, as an excuse? Are you blaming time for not doing what you have to do? Too often I talk to salespeople who say, I want to get better at this. I want to get better at closing. I want to get better at presenting. I'm like, well, why don't you? And they usually give me a time excuse. Right? They'll talk about maybe they don't know how, they don't have a plan, but there's books everywhere. There's videos online everywhere. The information is all around us to learn anything. The information is accessible, but when it comes down to it, it's always a time excuse. Well, you know what? It's too late for me to learn that. I'm too old to know or learn that. That's for the young people, right? Or I don't have the time because I have all these things going on, or again, that's going to take too much time, or simply, I don't want to make the time. And I am asking you that if you feel that sales anxiety, maybe it's because you're using one of these 4 time excuses. And if that's you, keep in mind that if you really wanted to do it, let me repeat myself again, you will make the time. So again, if you're feeling some sales anxiety, look at time. I'm sure you know it's urgent. You probably have a way of doing it because you can learn how to do it, but you gotta make the time. And that is it for this Sales Influence podcast on sales anxiety and time. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. I know this was kind of a fluffy podcast. By fluffy, I mean it's hard to tie down, but we know that this is going on in our heads all the time. It's not concrete, but we know that we're psyching ourselves out. And in many cases, that's what's really costing us sales in the long run. So again, leave me some feedback. Also, as always, check out my online sales training platform, the Sales Velocity Academy. We just added a new one called Better Sales Habits. That will help you with your time. So check it out, salesvelocityacademy.com. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, sell again hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.